Hi everyone, this will be a quite personal video as today I want to share with you 10 mistakes I made in my first year in my coach consulting business that cost me time, money, and momentum, and what I do differently right now if I started it again. If you're still in corporate and trying to build your business on the side, this might save you 6 months of trial and error. Or if you've just started the business and feel a bit stuck. Over the last couple of years, I completely changed my trajectory of my career, left my 15-year-long corporate finance career and started my coach consulting business. I made six figures in my first year and coached my clients from 9 countries on how to start and grow their coaching or consulting business. My first year was hard. I thought building a coaching business would be straightforward. I had the skills, I had the passion, I had the knowledge. But having those things and actually knowing how to build a business are two different things. I wasted time, I wasted money, I wasted energy on things that didn't matter. And worst of all, I stayed stuck for months, longer than needed, because I didn't know what I was doing wrong. So today, I want to share my honest reflection on 10 things I wish I had done differently from day one in order for you to be fully equipped and make informed choices. I started posting on LinkedIn, which is my main lead generation platform, regularly 4 or 5 times per week in November 2024. And it happened to be that way that my first 4 or 5 even high ticket clients came pretty fast, and they came from the content. So they saw my content, they engaged, they messaged me, I then them converted into customers. I then thought that that's what's going to happen all the time, but that was not true. What happened to me is actually more of a statistically exceptional thing rather than a rule. Because when you start and you don't have big audience and big brand, and at that time I had only 1,000 connections on LinkedIn, maybe less than that, you can't expect that after a few posts you will sign high ticket clients. This was a mistake because posting content is not a marketing strategy, it's a visibility strategy. But your visibility without conversion is just noise. I was treating social media like a billboard. Put your message out there and hope someone responds. But that's not how it works. Social media is social. It requires engagement, conversation, relationship building. I was doing the easiest part, creating content, but I was skipping the hard part, going and reaching out to people who are engaging with my content, or even doing direct outreach. Content does work, and people do buy from seeing you over and over again. But as Daniel Priestley says in one of his books, for people to truly trust you and rate you, they need to see you 11 times for them to notice you. They need to spend 2 to 7 hours with you to get to know you. And it might be through videos, through podcasts, through posts, through direct conversations. And they need to see you on 4 different platforms to feel like they really rate you. So what I learned is that content is just the starting point. Your initial $100,000 will come from direct messages, calls, and conversations. Now, when I post content, I have a strategy who I'm trying to attract, what conversations do I want to start, who I'm going to reach out to after this post. Content without outreach is just shouting into the void. Don't make that mistake I made. Don't post and pray. Post and follow up with those who are commenting, who are checking your profile, and with people who you're adding to your network as the pool of ideal clients. I tried to figure out my niche on my own instead of getting expert help. I spent months going back and forth. One week I was a productivity coach for working moms. The next week I was a career coach for professionals in finance. Then I finally landed on some specific outcome-based offer, which I felt super confident about. Hey, exec, gain back 10 week to your diary with my 6 week time and energy audit sprint. But then I realized that more and more people were coming to me with questions on how I started my coaching and consulting practice and how I can guide them to do the same. What specific strategies can I share with them? How can I coach them on generating leads, on drafting an offer, on setting up their pricing, and using LinkedIn from copywriting to optimizing their profile. And that's what brought me to my current offer and what I help people right now. This is where I can fully utilize my competitive edge, which lies at the intersection of my knowledge coming from managing big businesses and portfolios, my own story and success in making my business work, and my extremely strong execution and teaching functions. I would watch YouTube videos, read blog posts, take free courses about finding your niche, and I would get more and more confused with every piece of advice. And I actually would be spiraling and constantly going to square one, because every time you change your niche, you have to change everything you worked on before: your outreach strategy, your offer, your content pillars, your lead magnets. When you are inside your own head, you can't see clearly. You're too close to the problem. You don't know what you don't know. I wasted 6 months trying to avoid spending money by figuring out myself. If I had invested in the right coach or mentor in first month, I would have had clarity in weeks, not months. Those 6 months of confusion meant 6 months of not having a clear message, not attracting the right clients, and not making money I could have been making. What I learned is that getting help from someone who's done what you're trying to do, not your friend who's good at marketing, not a free Facebook group where everyone is confused as you are, but just hiring someone who can truly help you with your positioning and your offer, is a huge, huge win. Yes, it costs money, but the time and energy you will save and the revenue you will generate faster makes it one of the best investments you can make. Don't make my mistake. Get help early. It's worth it. If you want me to help you refine your position and your niche, feel free to book a power session with me at the link below. I remember when I started, I was looking for something like that. I wasn't planning to hire anyone for long term, but I needed someone for an hour or two to properly work through my X factor, my expertise, my skill set, and what I want to do, and properly refine my positioning. By the end of the power session with me, you will have an absolute clarity on your positioning. You will get all the action steps to focus on in the next 30 days to attract the right clients immediately. This is probably the most damaging one. I wasn't having enough conversations with potential clients. I thought if I just built my audience and created enough content, people would naturally come to me ready to buy. So I focused on growing my followers, obviously, and posting content. But why this was a mistake? You don't have a business if you're not having conversations. As I mentioned earlier, your initial 100,000 is buried in DMs and conversations. You always have to remember about 1% call conversion rate. When you are just starting out, assume that majority of the people who sees your content and majority of the potential prospects are cold leads, because they haven't seen you enough yet, they haven't consumed enough of your content, and they don't even know what you're offering yet. So you have to remember that if you connect with 100 people, say you send 100 connection requests to your ideal ICPs based on your criteria and filters, 50% of those people will not accept and will not even reply. Out of those 50 that end up accepting and replying, which is not a bad acceptance rate, 15 or 17 might eventuate in some kind of meaningful conversations that potentially can lead to your offer. Out of those 17, 5 might end up on a call. Then, if you have really good sales conversion skills and you can run your sales calls really well, one will convert into a customer. By the way, if you want to know how to run a sales call in a very confident manner, following the right steps without sounding salesy, check out my video here where I talk exactly about that. So now going back to our formula, it is one potential high-ticket client out of 100 conversations that you started. And even that conversion rate is rare. What I learned is that your number one job as an early stage entrepreneur is to have as many conversations as possible. In my first 4 months of building a business, I started maybe 50 conversations. In my next 8 months, I started 900 conversations through messages, through webinars, through calls. If I could go back and change one thing about my first year, it would be this: start or continue conversations with at least 50 prospects per week and do it consistently. Now I track my conversations like my business depends on it, because it does. I was trying to do everything at once. I was posting on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, starting a YouTube channel. I was trying to find speaking opportunities, creating lead magnets, building email funnels, attending networking events, launching a paid evergreen course, and trying to learn Facebook ads. I thought more was better. I thought I needed to be everywhere, doing everything all the time. When you do everything, you do nothing well. I was spreading myself way too thin without seeing proper results. I think I was trying to replicate what big creators and entrepreneurs were doing. Cody Sanchez is on Instagram, is on Facebook, is on podcasts, is everywhere. She's doing speaking, she's running businesses. The same for Alex Ramosi, the same for Daniel Priestley. But you have to remember that when you start, you're not them. And when you start, you don't have a team or you don't have as many resources to leverage as they do. So instead of trying to be everywhere and doing everything, I should have focused more on essentials, which is pick one platform where your ideal clients actually are and master it. Not two platforms, not three, one. Pick one lead generation strategy and execute on it consistently for at least 90 days before adding anything else. For me, that platform ended up being LinkedIn. When I finally stopped being on Instagram and Facebook and focused solely on LinkedIn with a clear strategy, everything changed. I decided also to continue YouTube because it gives me a chance to produce long form videos and share things in a long format, which I love. I share a lot of those with my clients and potential prospects, so it kind of does few things at the same time. Within 3 months of focusing on just LinkedIn, I had more leads than I'd had in the previous 6 months of being everywhere. So don't make my mistake. Pick only one thing and master it. I was not specific enough about who I helped and what I helped them with. My messaging was vague. I'd say things like, I help professionals achieve their goals or I help people unlock their potential. It sounded nice, but it meant nothing. When you speak to everyone, you speak to no one. Vague messaging doesn't attract clients, it confuses them. When someone read my content, they couldn't tell if I was the right coach for them because I wasn't clear about who I was for. Generic messaging blends in with every other coach saying the same generic things. There is no differentiation. There is no reason for someone to choose you over anyone else. Specificity sells. If your messaging is vague, fix it. Get specific about who you help, what problem you solve, and what transformation you provide. I mentioned this briefly in when I spoke about mistake number 4, but let me be more specific here. I spent my first 4 months focused on Instagram because that's what I saw other coaches were doing. I would post daily, create stories, engage with people, but my ideal clients, senior corporate professionals making six-figure salaries and executives, were not really on Instagram looking for business coaching. In fact, majority of them do not even have Instagram accounts. They were on LinkedIn. It doesn't matter how good your content is. If you are posting where your client doesn't hang out, your content will just fall flat. I wasted 4 months posting content daily on the platform. They didn't give me leads. They didn't give me clients. They didn't give me big following, and they didn't give me revenue. Before you commit to a platform, ask yourself, where do my ideal clients hang out? Where do they go when they're looking for solutions? If you're coaching executives, they're probably on LinkedIn, not TikTok. If you're coaching young creatives, they might be on Instagram or TikTok, not LinkedIn. Match your platform to your audience. I wanted the quick fix, the magic formula, the secret strategy that would make everything easier. For example, when I just started, I bought a course for $900 on how to design your evergreen course with no brand, no following, no name, and start making $20,000 per month. What a disappointment it was when I went through all that course and built my landing page and built my framework of my evergreen course on productivity and how to be able to have more time in a day. And when I launched it through Facebook ads, I learned Facebook ads. And when I launched it through Facebook ads, not only I was not able to make $20,000 per month, I had only 10 people buying it for $66. That's it, using Facebook ads. So I think that experiment costed me $7,000 or $6,000, and I made $300. So eventually I decided not to build that evergreen course, and I decided to refund the money to people who bought. And I just realized that I have to build the brand first, to build the name, to do the high ticket coaching first. And after that, eventually, when I build big audience, of course, there's going to be a course, of course, there's going to be a program, but not now. There are no shortcuts in building business. There is just consistent work over time, and there are stages and steps that you have to take to get there. I was chasing shortcuts instead of doing the hard work, leveling up my essentials. And those courses, most of them were selling a dream, not a strategy. They promised results without the work, and I fell for it because I was so impatient. What I learned is that building a coaching or consulting business is simple, but it's not easy. And there is no secret formula. There is just few steps that you have to make, and these are your essentials. Having conversations with potential clients, creating valuable content consistently, building relationships, refining your offer based on the feedback, and showing up every day. That's it. That's the formula. It's not sexy, it's not a shortcut, but it works and it does take time. So, whoever's promising you that you are going to be making thousands and millions from day one just because you're going to buy their $59 course or whatever it is, do not believe them. It doesn't work like that. And it's coming from someone who walked the talk and who's built something from scratch. The coaches who succeed aren't the ones who are looking for shortcuts. They're the ones who are doing boring fundamentals day in and day out. Once I finally realized LinkedIn was the right platform for me, I made another mistake. I was not setting up my profile to convert visitors into leads, into future clients. My headline was not specific. My banner was not working in conjunction with headline, was not reinforcing the transformation that I was mentioning in headline. My page was not set up as a sales page, it was set up as a CV, as a resume. Your LinkedIn profile is your digital storefront. If someone lands on your profile and can't immediately understand what you do, who you help, and how they can work with you, they're gone. Your headline should clearly state who you help and what problem you help them solve. Your About section should speak directly to your ideal client pain points and desires and tell a story about why you is the best person to help them with that. You need clear call to action throughout your profile, telling people exactly how the next step needs to look like. I finally revamped my profile to focus on my ideal client instead of myself. My headline became specific. My About section addressed my client's challenges, and I added a clear CTA by having a high value lead magnet. And guess what? My conversion rate from LinkedIn started to get better and better at every next day. If you are on LinkedIn and want to know how to optimize your profile, check out my video here where I specifically called out those steps that you have to take. There is such thing as Hofstede's law, which states it always takes longer than you expect, even when you take into account Hofstede's law. In other words, everything takes longer than you think it will, even when you account for the fact that things take longer than you think. I would set those crazy goals about making six-figure within like few months, or run a webinar campaign and convert 15 customers into my group coaching program with no brand name, no business experience, still figure out who is my ideal ICP and what transformation exactly I'm offering. I remember when I started, I told my 12-year-old daughter about my revenue goal and my profit goal in my year one. And she looked at me, and with all her limited knowledge as a 12-year-old, even though she's helping me with the business, she looked at me and said, "Mom, your goal is not stupid, but your timeline is." And I think this is really, really important. Your goal might not be too big. It's just your timeline when you want to achieve that goal might be too short. When you underestimate how long things take, you end up pushing and doing sloppy work, feeling constantly behind and feeling that spiral, going into the spiral loop that starts eating away at your productivity, making poor decisions under pressure. And you start self-sabotaging yourself that things are not working out and you eventually might quit. Whatever timeline you think something will take, double it, sometimes triple it. Building a lead magnet, you think it will take a week, plan for 2 weeks. Launching a new program, you think it will take a month, give yourself 2 months. It will remove unnecessary pressure and it will actually help you to stay focused and to stay productive on working towards your goal. I doubted myself constantly and honestly still do. This might sound soft compared to the other mistakes, but it was actually the most damaging one. I'd second guess my every decision. I'd compare myself to other coaches and consultants who seemed to have it all figured out. I'd wonder if I was good enough, if my offer was good enough, if my positioning is clear enough, and whether anyone would want to pay me. Every time someone said no to working with me, I take it personally. Every time I post and didn't get engagement on my post, I would question whether I should even be doing this. Doubt was eating away on my focus, on my productivity, on my confidence. And then one day I just accepted that doubt is part of the process. And I experience it not because I'm incapable, but because I'm doing something new. In fact, I'm doing something that only 6% of people in the world are trying to do, to build their own business, to live the life of freedom. Everyone doubts themselves, but entrepreneurs who make it work within first few years act despite the doubt. I learned to expect doubt and not to let it stop me. Doubt is just an emotion, it's not truth. It doesn't mean I'm not capable or that I won't succeed. Now, when doubt shows up, I acknowledge, oh, there is the doubt again, and then I do the thing anyway. The question isn't whether you will doubt yourself, it's whether you will let that doubt stop you from working on your goals. Don't let it stop you. Keep executing. Looking back, I can see that every single one of those mistakes were costing me time, money, and momentum. If I had known then what I know now, I could have probably compressed my first year of learnings into 3 months. But the good news is that you don't have to make those mistakes now, because hopefully after listening what I just told you, you can take action, you can preempt, and you can build a mitigation strategy. If you're in your first year right now, or if you're about to start your coaching or consulting business, let me leave you with this. Focus on your conversations over content. Get help when you need it. Pick one thing and master it. Be specific who you help and what you do. Go where your clients are. Do the work. There are no shortcuts. Optimize your profile for conversion. Give yourself realistic timelines and act despite the doubt. It will be hard. It needs to be hard because you're building something that only a few people in this world do. And if you want a formula, this is it. This is the formula they just give you. These are the steps you have to take. Now I want to hear from you. If you are in your first year of building your coaching and consulting business, which one of those mistakes are you making right now? Or if you are past year one, what mistakes would you add to the list? Drop a comment below. Remember, mistakes aren't failures, they are lessons. Their only real failure is not learning from them. See you next week. With care, Anna.